Okay, I'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission to order. Could we have a roll call?
Shelby's not here.
Oh, I thought I saw her on there. Oh, you're right. All right, let's wait for Shelby. Guess I could call roll and then she'll be able to do minutes from the recording if she can't make it. Oh, there she is. Hi, Shelby. Can you hear us okay, Shelby? We aren't hearing you. I'm not hearing you. Okay, I'll start with roll call. Bill Brown here. Shannon Baranek.
Here.
Cynthia Hoyle.
Present.
Audrey Ishii.
Here.
Sue Jones. Jeff Marino. Sarthak Prasad.
Present.
Nancy Westcott.
Here.
Annie Adams.
Present.
Kara Dudek.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Cynthia and seconded by, who seconded that?
Me. Yeah.
To approve the agenda. So do another roll call.
Shelby disappeared again.
Yeah.
Having trouble.
Bill Brown, yes. Shannon.
Yes.
Cynthia.
Yes.
Audrey.
Yes.
Sarthak.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Annie.
Yes.
Kara.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
Bill, I think there's. I think Charlie has his hand raised. I don't know why. In the attendance section. I don't know why.
When we get to public input, we can, I think he's probably asking to speak during public input.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, Charlie wants to speak during public input, that's fine. I thought you said Shelby. Okay, approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Audrey and seconded by Nancy to approve the minutes. Any corrections?
I sent some corrections in to Shelby, a couple of minor corrections. I didn't pull them up, but I can do that to just let everybody know before we vote. They were fairly minor. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. On my computer. Oh, yes, under approval of agenda, I requested to add a presentation about Vision Zero. Was it Vision Zero or, yes, that Vision Zero, not snow angels.
Okay.
And I also under new business, page 2, I said that that being a gold level bicycle friendly community is the 3rd highest tier, not the 2nd. So just minor corrections.
Yep. Thanks. I was wondering about that. There's platinum and diamond. Is that what's above us?
Well, well, I guess it depends on how you're doing it. If you're doing it from the bottom, then you've got bronze, silver, gold. So we'd be the 3rd highest.
Oh, there's just platinum above us?
I think there's platinum and diamond above it. Yeah.
Either way, we're 3rd then.
Yes. That's
Okay.
true.
We actually, on the agenda, we had Vision Zero, but we didn't have snow angels in April. So are you sure that that's a change that we need to make?
Maybe that was just
Already
left
had
over.
Vision Zero on there.
I think that was left over from the previous. So probably just need to delete that.
Oh, delete it. All right. Yeah, because I thought I didn't present about snow angels last time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just delete the snow angels reference in the
Okay.
minutes.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
That straightens it out.
Yeah, because it was already on the agenda, I was gonna say.
Okay, so we're going to vote on approval of the minutes with the corrections. And I'll call roll. Bill Brown, yes. Shannon,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Sarthak,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Kara.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next is public input. I see one hand raised. Charlie, you should be able to unmute now.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Charlie.
I want to remind everyone that tomorrow night, Wednesday, will be the 15th time we locally observe the Rite of Silence. It'll be departing shortly after 7 p.m. from the I Hotel. To quote from the national website, the Rite of Silence is a silent procession to honor cyclists who have been killed or injured while cycling on public roadways. Although cyclists have a legal right to share the road with motorists, the motoring public often isn't aware of these rights and sometimes not aware of the cyclists themselves. Roads are for people. Regardless of how you may be using the public roadway, it's there for everyone's transportation needs, whether on foot, bike, motorcycle, car, and so on. All users of the roadway have a responsibility to watch for and respect other users. We ask that people get off their phones and minimize other multitasking activities. Driving takes your full attention. The Champaign County Bikes 3-foot sign campaign discussed in my email input to you earlier this week, and the Traffic Commission, is an attempt to increase awareness. We also encourage people to take the bike safety quiz, which is at bikesafetyquiz.com, a Ride Illinois product that includes modules for bicyclists, youth cyclists, vehicle drivers, and large trucks. With 3 bicyclists killed and several pedestrians as well over the past 3 years in Champaign County, not including those seriously injured, I'm very concerned. Actually, I should point out I'm chair of the Champaign County Bikes, and we're concerned that we're backsliding locally. This does not bode well, as we're supposed to be silver or gold level bicycle-friendly cities and universities. That the per capita death rate locally for peds and bicyclists has doubled in the past 10 years or so versus the previous 10 is very disturbing. Nationally, we've seen vehicle occupant death rates generally come down, though pandemic numbers will be interesting. But pedestrian, bicyclist, and motorcyclist deaths continue to stay at the same or worse levels. Not only have the safety features of vehicles improved a lot for occupants, but the size of vehicles has increased as people buy SUVs and trucks. So this is probably another factor. The temptation seems to be to drive faster in these larger and/or safer vehicles. The larger the vehicle, the faster the vehicle, the more care that that particular user needs to show. The self-driving car safety features that are appearing on vehicles now can't come fast enough for me, but that isn't enough. We need to embrace Vision Zero locally, which takes a systems level approach to roadway design, taking into account that people make mistakes, among other things. You know the drill. You've heard lots about Vision Zero. You're going to talk about it more tonight, I think. Locally, we need to deal with the problem intersections that make it difficult for pedestrians and bicyclists to get where they want to go. We need to lower the speed limits in residential areas to 25 miles per hour and think about redesigning our least safe roadways. Note that the U of I campus has had no fatalities, and I can't think of any serious injuries over the past 5 years or so where the University 25 mile per hour district exists, along with the many design changes that have been done. And now with MCOR completed, we have an even larger area of roadway with complete streets approach to look at as an example. We have proof that Vision Zero works locally. Local city councils need to stop fearing residential speed limits of 25 miles per hour and other traffic calming mechanisms like modern roundabouts. We're 49th or 50th in the country for adopting roundabouts. If Everett Road and Highway 45 had a roundabout, a certain individual would not have been killed 2 weeks ago. You know, we need to address serious accidents with modern solutions. It's time to quit being afraid of roundabouts and other calming mechanisms. You know, many local villages in Champaign County have posted 25 mile per hour residential speeds, and they get to use neighborhood vehicles too, you know, aka golf carts. We should be embracing lower speeds just like on campus so that those electric and utility vehicles can go all over our communities, not just on campus. One really good thing I can point to coming from the pandemic is the increase in bicycling and walking. We need to encourage that to continue. We want people to use their bikes for getting to work, not just to get out of the house for some fresh air. We want people to keep walking in parks and preserves and all places in between. Walk to work, walk to school, walk and bike with your kids, smell the lilacs, mine are in bloom right now, slow down just a bit and enjoy life. The few seconds it costs will save your life and those of others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie. Are there any questions for Charlie?
Could you describe, the letter that you sent described locations for signs, the 3-foot signs?
Yes. Yeah, so in the letter I sent you separately, I talked about the Champaign County Bikes 3-foot sign initiative. We've got signs that have gone up in a number of locations in the county. They began with the IDOT placing them in 2 locations on state highways around Mahomet where bicyclists were killed. That has expanded. Champaign County Bikes provided signs for the Champaign County Forest Preserve District. So there are 4 signs in 3 different Forest Preserve districts. Signs have appeared in rural Savoy, outside the city of Savoy, or outside the village of Savoy, on First Street and on the bridge over Interstate 57. The village of Savoy is actually discussing additional sign placement in the village right now with Peter Davis, one of our board members. And 2 signs were placed in Rantoul, in an area that's heavily used by bicyclists and vehicles, where there was also a serious accident. So we've actually got 2 signs in my garage, no less, that we're ready to give to the city of Urbana. And we've got some additional signs and fundraising for additional locations. So we've identified places that we think are important for the city of Urbana because of the, and you can see this from the heat maps that are provided from Strava and other applications. You can see where the bicyclists are going. And the entrances of the city, Main Street at the edge of town, where I'm very concerned about the speed limit to begin with, Ray Street, Philo Road, the obvious places, and another place that is where there are a lot of bicyclists is just outside Behringer Commons on the bridge over Interstate 74. So that's another location. I didn't mention that, but those are all locations where, if you look at the heat maps of people traveling by bicycle, compared to, and you can compare that to the average daily traffic in those areas. Those would be places that would benefit from an additional awareness to motorists traveling the roadway. We just want to, increase awareness any way we can.
Thanks. And just to follow up on that, I think some of us filled out a survey, an online survey a year or two ago, asking about where we want those signs. And I know I did mention South Race and High Cross Road over the interstate. I also thought maybe Country Club Road, just between Broadway and Vine, Broadway and Cunningham. And I'm not sure if that's really a city street either, but that's another spot that people use because Broadway's good and bikeable now. So people use that more. As far as, and so between the survey and the Strava, I can understand a lot of the logic. What I'm a little concerned about is the equity issue as far as people living in some of the other areas that don't have access to maybe, or aren't as aware of maybe the surveys we've done, and maybe they don't use Strava. And if there's other areas, like I ride on Ray Street probably 5 times a week, but I don't ride on Bradley maybe once a month, twice a month. So there may be areas like that we're less familiar with that may also benefit from signs. So I'd hope that there'd be some way to reach out to those areas, either to people who live in those areas or people who ride on those streets more. So that's great. Thanks for the signs. And Shannon, what do we have to do to get the signs put up?
Well, Charlie's already sent me 3 suggested ones, and we need to review it internally. So, and it's going to come down to a cost issue because we cannot, we'll have to come with, if we do agree to put them out, we'll have to have an agreement where either the signs will be paid for by outside sources in perpetuity, or once the signs go away due to theft, neglect, vandalism, or end of useful life, the city won't be replacing them.
What was the last part? If they once they expire, the city will
not be replacing them. It'll be at the outside funding.
So if we didn't get signs donated and we just wanted to put up signs ourselves, would we go to the traffic commission then?
No, right now we're going through Charlie and Jeff Yockey as the contact person, basically. So I have an email with Charlie with the 3 suggestions he sent over. We need to review it internally. These are state law signs, so therefore they don't need to go through traffic commission, but we do need to, as a city, determine best practice, best location.
Okay.
Would there be any fines for stealing the signs?
If you get caught, yes, any sign theft is actually finable.
It seems like there would be a third option. There'd be, they would pay for them in perpetuity. We would not replace them, or we would replace them. That would be the third option, right?
Right, but the city will not be paying to replace them if they get like stolen, vandalized, or end of useful life. So it'd have to be a agreement for future funding for replacement.
Okay.
So approximately, how much does it cost to replace a sign?
The signs themselves are probably about $150 each, and then plus the mounting pole. If those need to be replaced, that's more, and then plus city staff time.
The signs are actually about $50 wholesale.
Well,
Okay.
how are the other communities dealing with this issue of in perpetuity? Savoy, Champaign, are they coming
Didn't
up with
Champagne
it?
put some up already?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Champagne put one up on First. That's beautiful. I love it. You know, it's right there when you turn off of Windsor.
Mhm.
Did Champaign have the similar similar replacement policy?
I don't know what those are actually township signs. There's one is the pair over I-57 is Tolono Township, and the other pair is I believe Champaign Township. I'd have to ask Peter Davis what the agreement was. The limit is we basically order them in quantity from a facility in outside Bloomington, Indiana. And if you quantity order, we have basically a pretty reasonable price. We pick them up ourselves. That saves a lot of money. Actually, that's actually where we save it. So if you figure in transportation and all that, it's about $75 a sign, and then it's the cost of the pole and the mounting it up. So it's really more about a $75 cost if you had them shipped. But like I said, it really will depend on our fundraising abilities and getting them. They're pretty high quality signs, so they will last quite a while.
Yeah, and I don't see how these are different from bicyclists may use full lane signs, and the city has put those up. And so I'm curious about why someone donates a sign to the city and the city puts it up under their sign policies. That requires a whole new policy as compared to our current use of bicyclists may use full lane. So I think it might be good to ask for clarification on that.
That came from on high, so there is not going to be any clarification beyond that.
Is that why the bikes may use full lane sign is lying on the ground on Main Street because no one was there to pick it up and put it back?
If it's not reported, we can't monitor every single sign in the city. We have a very large sign inventory, so that we do have Citizens Serve, we have Citizens Voice. We do have ways for citizens to report those because we literally have 2 sign folks. So it's, there's a lot more signs than our public works employees.
Who is on high? Is that the mayor or is that city council or?
Public works director, city administrator.
Okay, we can take it on high too. We'll talk to on high and see what the policy for replacing 3 foot.
I literally just told you what came from the public works director.
I understand,
Okay,
yeah, that can be negotiated.
Bill, can I ask a question? Who, are there council members that should be approached to ask if they would like, if you were talking about like equity, are there specific council members that should be approached to ask if they're, should we present, I guess a bigger question is, Charlie, has this been presented to council and do council members know of constituents or spaces or places? Because I suppose that's the best way to reach everybody. Does that question make sense, Bill, what I'm trying to get at?
Well, I wanted to hop in here. The locations that Charlie suggested were places where people are entering town.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't talk about places in town because those we tend not to have the same level of issues that we do on roads where people are coming at higher speeds. So when people are coming in from the country on Race, when they're coming from the country on Philo, the locations that he identified, we have issues with people really speeding into town. So I don't see these going up all over town. I really sort of see them as entryway, reminding people that you are supposed to be giving bicyclists 3 feet as you come into the city. And, if I'm wrong in that approach, I'm happy to concede the point, but I think putting them up too many places, there's a certain amount as a transportation planner that I can tell you a problem with sign clutter. And so I think having them on the entryways really is the most impactful location.
Cynthia, that was kind of gonna be my question as well, because I agree with you. They're almost like seatbelt law signs where, buckle up. If the buckle ups, it's all a law, like this is a law that everybody should know about, just like many other laws. But if we have a buckle up sign everywhere, we don't see it anywhere. But if they're in specific locations, and my theory is, Charlie, these are locations where people are coming at high speeds and then they're being asked to drive at a slightly slower speed, I'm guessing. But anyway, I agree with what Cynthia is suggesting.
And I think Washington is a good location for that, because that certainly is an area where we have more people walking and biking and taking the bus. And I believe Main Street was the other location that you mentioned, Charlie, because we even had a fatality there recently. So I think those are really important locations.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there are some areas that, because of the bike lanes, like especially on Race Street, where the bike lane, half of it is in the gutter, so you're already right in near the edge of the bike lane, where it's really uncomfortable when two cars pass and you're in the bike lane. And drivers need to realize that if the car is coming from the other direction, they really ought to just wait and let the other car go by before they pull around you and give you some space. So I think there are some specific areas like that that benefit from those signs, as well as some of the high speed areas. But
Yeah, that
I don't see this turn into dozens of signs or anything, but 5 or 6, it seems pretty petty for the city to complain about who's going to replace them. But we can take that up with other people. Thanks.
I'm just going to caution you, we'll get the same answer from Carl and Tim, because they're the ones who put this forth for me to tell you guys.
I understand. I understand that we'll get the same answer. We can argue too. And we still have we have thousands of signs in this bicycle wayfinding plan. So maybe we could negotiate a few of those out and trade them for some signs.
Yeah, and Shannon, it doesn't have to be on you, Shannon. Like, you were just telling us what you've been told. It's not. Yeah, you're the messenger, and we understand that completely. So.
Unfortunately, it does not seem like you do, because when you're told, well, I'm going to go over your head and talk to them anyway, that feels like a personal attack and very disrespectful.
Shannon,
Wow.
We understand that that's your supervisor, but they are not our supervisor. That's the difference.
We were formed to advise the city council about pedestrian and bike safety, and that is what we are going to do. We were not formed to advise or ask the public works director whether or not we can advise the city council and the mayor. And so we will be doing that. That is not a personal attack on you or anybody else. That is what this commission was formed to do. And that is what we are going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds more like a budget issue, and we can take it up with other people.
I do also want to caution that we are still in public input, and we've been having a discussion for more than 20 minutes.
That's all right. We have a pretty light agenda. Anything else to ask Charlie?
That's going by the Open Meetings Act, however.
No, it's not, Shannon.
We didn't take action on it. We didn't pass anything. We didn't take action on it as a commission.
I believe the public input period is by the open meetings is what, about 30 minutes or something? Is that what you're getting at, Shannon?
That and every other person who may want to give public input should also then be given equal time. That's what we have to be cautioned on.
Thank you for your input, Shannon. Okay, let's move on. Next on the agenda. Traffic garden near Orchard Downs. Cynthia?
Yes, we'll need to let Emmy and
okay.
maybe Jonathan also were the two community learning lab interns that worked with us on this project. And they have a short presentation. I'll give you a little bit of background and setup. They're going to talk about what traffic gardens are. It's something that Similar had been discussed here, a safety town had been discussed here by a large group of people in the community for over a year. But a safety town is very expensive and also requires a lot of ongoing management and maintenance. And I don't think that there was the ability to fund and manage that. And this is a way to provide some of the same facilities to help kids learn bike safety skills in a way that's always available and accessible to them. And it's basically painted on pavement, little stations to practice starting and stopping at stop signs and doing other skills like that. And in some communities, they've taken abandoned basketball courts, parking lots, other paved areas, abandoned streets, and turned them into traffic gardens. So I put together a proposal to have some students work on this for us through the Community Learning Lab. And we had 3 students who worked on it. And we suggested that we take a look at the 2 streets over at Orchard Downs that are shut off, that are not used, and then approach the university about the idea of doing this. And I should say too, they're going to talk a little bit about funding, but there's a round of Safe Routes to School grants that will be issued this fall from the Illinois Department of Transportation. And it might be possible for us to include the materials for putting a traffic garden together in that grant. But we would first have to have, of course, have some sort of an agreement for a location for it. I also emailed the Park District, Kara, and I didn't copy you. I should have copied you on that. To suggest that it might be an interesting thing to also add to our new activity center out on Washington, that this would be a great thing to have there as well. So anyway, I will turn this over to Emmy and Jonathan. And do you have to give them permission to present, or do they already have that?
Yeah, I promoted them. They should be able to unmute themselves and
Okay.
they can present.
All right, I hand it off to you.
Hi.
All right, hi, everybody. Let me share my screen really quickly. All right, so can you guys see the slides?
Yep.
All right, I'm Jonathan Koo. I am an incoming senior at the U of I, and then I'll hand it off to Emmy.
Hi, I'm Emmy. I'm an incoming sophomore at the U of I. And I guess we don't want to take too much of your time, so I'll get started. Cynthia already touched on this a little bit, but a traffic garden is a designated area without any motorized vehicles, usually on a paved street or a network of streets, where young people and adult learners can develop skills related to general bike riding abilities, as well as navigating streets, intersections, and crossings. This CU Safe Routes to School project seeks to transform Bliss Drive into a robust traffic garden so that the individuals in the community can learn the skills needed to safely and lawfully ride their bicycles. This project is important for a multitude of reasons. Throughout this development, learners will be able to practice navigating roadways in an environment where they're able to make mistakes without being at risk for major injury. And biking promotes healthy habits in children and adults, and at its core, these learners will also be developing a useful transportation skill, which they can and will use for the rest of their lives. According to David Ballack of Bike Arlington, their community traffic garden has allowed children to, quote, build confidence in their skills as well as bonds with other children and overall become more empowered to move in a way they enjoy, end quote. So beyond the benefits granted to the individual biker, having a traffic garden also has the massive potential to improve the Champaign-Urbana community. Learners who form these skills early on will promote the development of safe roadway systems overall for bikers, car drivers, and pedestrians. Every year in the United States, hundreds of cyclists die from preventable accidents and hundreds of thousands are injured, as I'm sure you all know. And teaching road safety, proper signaling, and awareness leads to a safer community for everyone. So I'll hand it over to Jonathan, who will talk about our goals and milestones.
Yeah, so one of our main goals for this project is to increase bike safety and awareness in the Champaign-Urbana community. So some of the most common errors children make while biking include darting into traffic, waving onto the road, and biking the wrong way. So some of the causes of these errors include having a small peripheral vision. So children have a smaller range of peripheral view, so they cannot see all road hazards. Kids also put a lot of trust in adults or drivers. So children don't see adults as a threat to their safety. So kind of viewing this in a kid's perspective, they trust drivers when they're in the car as a passenger. So why shouldn't they trust them while sharing the road as a biker? And the third point is their focus on themselves. It takes a lot of mental energy for children to focus on their own riding. So children need to practice using many skills at once. And lastly, they're actually having fun. So biking is and should be fun. Children often ride around with friends or to their homes from school. However, this can lead to further distraction and crashes. So we want to expose and teach riders some of the skills they might need for the road through specific stations set up in the traffic guardian. So the first skill is starting and stopping. We'll have painted indications on the road that'll be green, yellow, and red. These will help the rider develop a sense of distance between themselves and the stop sign and when they need to start slowing down. We'll also include all stop and crosswalk markings and other indicators. So for straight line riding, so we have specific paths marked on the sidewalks that are solely intended to help children learn to ride in a straight line. They're for single rider use so that children may practice this skill before entering the rest of the course with fellow riders. And turning, so turning will be incorporated throughout the garden at various intersections and elements. Riders will practice sharp turns at the central T intersection that you'll see later on our layout, and can practice wider turns when switching from stations and circling the roundabouts. So for signaling and awareness, users will be strongly encouraged to practice hand signals at intersections with their parents and fellow riders. They'll also learn how to properly use bike lanes or ride safely on roads that don't have bike lanes. So our fifth point, obstacle avoidance. So elements painted on the ground will train riders to keep an eye on the road at a certain distance in front of them. And again, you'll see this on our layout a little bit later. This will teach them how to maneuver quickly and safely to avoid collisions. And then the last point, general road safety. So children and adolescents aged 5 to 19 have the highest rates of non-fatal bicycle-related injuries, accounting for about a third of all bicycle-related injuries in U.S. emergency departments. So we definitely want to promote general road safety in hopes to decrease these numbers. So we want to take a 3-phased approach to this project, with the first phase consisting of primarily painted elements. This is the most basic level of our plan and requires the least amount of setup and funding. This plan is vital, this phase is vital to our project as it adds functionality and liveliness to the space that will invite families to use our traffic garden. This phase will also include any needed roadway repairs. So phase 2 consists of the addition of simple road signs. This phase will be easy to complete. We'll anchor road signs of all types, including stop, yield, and all signs needed at intersections. And then finally, for phase 3, this phase will include interactive additions such as a hand-cranked railroad crossing bar, a spitting stop and go sign to simulate stop lights, with parent-run variability, varying terrains, and a little book box with instructions on how to properly use the traffic garden. And so additionally, there will be a shed with equipment such as traffic cones and tires to provide the opportunity for children to avoid 3D obstacles instead of painted elements during safe routes to school events. So moving on to our proposed layout. This is our proposed layout. Again, this is at the intersection of Carl Avenue up here and then Bliss Drive over here. Again, on the Orchard Downs community in Urbana. I'll go a little bit more in depth over the next few slides, but as you can see, we've included all the skills and stations that I just outlined. So first off, we have the straight line riding stations. So the path marked with red lines indicate the straight line riding stations. So up here, there are 3 of them. The green and yellow paths you see here at the top right, they indicate the flow of traffic in the traffic garden. And then these will be more for experienced or supervised riders. And then obstacle avoidance. So in this section of the traffic garden, we want to definitely emphasize obstacle avoidance. And we'll be doing that through, well, in the first phase, painted on tires and cones. So the black will be tires, orange cones. This is also can be moved around. And then the second phase will actually, or I think it's the third phase, will actually have 3D objects, so actual tires and cones. And then bikers will come down through here using this green path, and then also be able to practice turning in this roundabout. And so yeah, the last skill, general road safety and other skills. So last but not least, we want to promote this skill through various elements such as parallel parked cars, even a railroad track and T intersections, so riders can gain exposure to these potential hazards in a safe and controlled setting before actually having to bike on the actual road.
Okay, so some opportunities and considerations. First off, we have funds. So we believe that funding for the phase 1 plan could be acquired through volunteer work and fundraising, unless the roadway repair is necessary. However, there are a plethora of grants available for our project. To name a few, the Illinois Department of Transportation offers a non-infrastructure grant and safety grants through the Safe Routes to School program. And additionally, the Park and Recreational Facilities Construction Program offers grant amounts starting at $25,000. This grant is offered to land acquisition projects that will be used for general park purposes. And last grant is the Illinois Bicycle Path Grant Program, which offers a grant of up to $200,000. This grant applies to bicycle path support facilities and or bicycle paths. And a last potential source of funding is the Coronavirus Release Fund. However, we're not sure exactly how that would play out. So next, we have maintenance. There's not a lot of maintenance that we predict being an issue. The only thing is paint touch-ups, and we predict this being around every 2 to 5 years that will need done. We estimate that the paint retouches will likely fall on the longer end of the spectrum, more towards the 5-year end, because the garden will be limited to bike tires and minor foot traffic. And additionally, liability. So initial questions were raised about the regulation and maintenance of the facility, which in turn raises the question of who is responsible for potential injuries or liability concerns. But because this facility will be treated as a public park, there is limited liability to the university. From precedents with other public parks, the locality assumes responsibility only in the case of provable negligence in the form of poor maintenance. Because the obstacles in phase 1 will only be painted on, the possibility of injury is first extremely limited, and secondly would not be due to lack of maintenance, which thereby eliminates the possibility of legal action. If this project were to move forward, liability under phase 2 and 3 can be revisited by reaching out to the organizers and administrators of other public traffic gardens to determine their maintenance schedules and other potential sources of injury. And lastly, parking. Many families will likely bike or walk to the park. However, those that are not within close proximity will need a place to park. We believe that it's reasonable to request parking spots, 4 to 10 parking spots from Lot D be designated for our traffic garden to allow for convenient and stress-free parking in the near vicinity. And to conclude, proceeding with this project offers the opportunity to make an incredible difference to the Urbana-Champaign community. Learners of any age will be able to develop the skills necessary for becoming competent road users of all kinds, bicyclists, drivers, and pedestrians. With a traffic garden, they will be able to cultivate the basic skills of bike riding and road safety in a low stakes environment, decreasing the possibility of injury or even death further down the road. There are hundreds of successful traffic gardens and parks around the country, all with the intent of improving the overall health, safety, and awareness of bike riders in their area. Currently, this area of Bliss Drive and Carr Avenue is going completely unused. Through the CU Safe Routes to School project, it can instead become a functional, beautiful addition to the community. We seek to foster healthy habits in adults and children, promote sustainable transportation options, and prevent at least some of the many collisions that occur on our roads due to unsafe or unaware travelers. And lastly, we just wanted to thank you for taking your time to be with us today and considering our proposal. And of course, wanted to thank Cynthia for all of her help this semester on this project.
Great job.
Yeah, good job. Thanks. It's exciting. I mean, I run through that space sometimes, and I never thought of that, how to use it like that. So this is really exciting. And I think the Orchard Downs would use it too, because they have, children that live in the family housing there, so they could even use it unofficially and everything. Any questions?
I have a few questions.
I'll say great job. Oh, go ahead. Or I'll say great job, but I think there's a daycare in the middle of that loop, so you'd probably want to keep the road open, throughout the week, but you could shut it off. You could close the road off and and let people use it. Oh, there's no.
Those roads are shut, Jeff. They have planters blocking them. They're completely unused.
Yeah.
You're thinking of one further south, and I know which one you're talking about. And there's actually buses down on some of those routes. So yeah, these are completely unused. They're the ones up on the far north end, and there's nothing there but trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are abandoned roads. However, I do want to ask if you guys have reached out to housing about this, because these are housing owned areas, and
we did, and I think, Jonathan, did you reach out to them? Did you get a response? We were going to ask you, Sar, talk about that.
Yeah, I did reach out to, I think her name was Reese with the Orchard Downs community, but she unfortunately never got back to me. So
what was her name? I'm sorry.
Reese, I think her full name is Charisse, but she goes by Reese.
Okay.
Reese.
Yeah, if you have other contacts for us, they have a written proposal in addition to this presentation that we would like to talk with them about, because obviously we can't ask for funding if we don't know if we can use the street.
Yeah, I think there are two contacts that comes to mind. I mean, first one is Matt Brown. He's the facilities person.
You can stop sharing, Jonathan, if you want to get rid of it.
So Matt Brown would be one point of contact over there, and Brian Johnson.
Will you email those contacts to me? And
yeah, sure, I can definitely do that. And I was actually going to say the other thing that I wanted to ask was if you had reached out to Stacy about this or not. Because
no, we did not reach. I don't think we contacted the public safety folks on campus.
Oh, Stacy is.
Oh, Stacy. No, I was going to send it to Stacy. Sorry.
Yeah. So it would either be Stacy or me. I think I will be more involved with the project. Okay. But I would still keep Stacy in the loop. And as I said, like, since these are these streets, although they're abandoned, they're still under housing. Matt Brown.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure where it's coming from.
I hear that too.
Nancy, can you mute yours? Is it yours?
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, I think that did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Feel free to if you need to talk, Nancy.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? So
Well,
Sounds like,
actually, I did want to talk.
okay.
I wanted to just say, number one, I think it's a really neat idea. I mean, I think this is just kids playing with this kind of stuff and seeing signs is so neat. And also Leo School, for like a phase one with a painted sign, it has a street between its two playgrounds. It's a blocked off street. And so that would be another potential location for a different phase of this. But I just think it's a really great idea. So thank you very much.
I forgot about that little street. It's not very long, but they could certainly put something on it.
Is it, so how would the security for this be managed when no one's using it?
It's open all the time, just like a park.
So it would just resemble a park.
Yeah, and so you probably would have a sign about, like parks do with, and I think the students looked at this to some degree that, talks about the rules and that you're using this on your own. So there are lots of examples. There's a whole traffic gardens toolkit online. So we don't have to reinvent like really anything. I
was just thinking about it because it's one of my favorite running routes is right through that in the
oh, you'd be able to use
it at night. So I'm picturing, will I be running into the cones or
No, we can't leave cones and tires out there. Though if we have those, they would be there for events and go back in the shed. Because as much fun as it might be to have bright colored, painted tires there, they'll just walk away, and they're a maintenance issue, and there are all kinds of issues with that. So they can't stay there. That's why they'd be painted elements that would be there on a regular basis.
I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarthak.
Okay, so about the maintenance, you guys said that we'll only need like painting the roadways every 2 to 5 years, but the maintenance will also include stuff, regular stuff like snow removal and stuff.
Not necessarily. We talked about snow removal, and it seems doubtful to me that families are going to be coming out to use the traffic garden when it snows. And
however,
you don't have to remove the snow on those streets. They don't remove the snow on those streets now because the snowplows can't get in there.
Yeah, right now they don't, but if we make it a park, I mean,
you still wouldn't be able to drive in. They still have the planters blocking the roads.
Yeah.
I've seen there is just branches falling on the roads. You need to get the branches off the roads from all the trees, but it does seem like it would be pretty low maintenance. I suppose 5 or 10 years from now, the pavement will eventually start cracking up more and everything, and then you might have to reconsider.
There are a couple of spots where the pavement has popped up, and that we would need to talk with the university about grinding those spots down. Because I went out and checked it out because I wanted to see what the condition of the road was, and the road's in really good condition, I guess, because nobody's on it. And so there's just a couple of those spots that would actually be crash hazards for the kids. Otherwise, the road's in great shape. It just has debris all over it. And if the university wanted to clear it like they clear sidewalks when it snows, that would be great. But I don't see that being a high priority because I am having a hard time imagining how many families want to come outside when it's snowing to teach bike safety skills.
Yeah, no, I agree, but it's still something to consider, I guess. Like snow removal, and just salting and stuff like that. But okay, I'm just sending you the point of contacts and stuff.
My bigger concerns. I have a question. This is like just a question I have about Florida. Will there ever be, like right now, because I live, a couple blocks away from the thing that's just been proposed, I'm beginning to understand the inability to use Florida when you're on your bike. And the sidewalk is so thin. There's one sidewalk, it's not on both sides, and it's so very thin. Just out of curiosity, does the university have any plan to put in like an 8-foot wide bike walk path on the other side of the street? Is that in any
Yes.
plan? Okay, thank you. That was.
Yes, that's in bike plans. It's been in bike
Okay.
for probably
Wasn't there an application
years.
for it, I think a long time ago, maybe?
Yeah, because I thought Lily was working on something at some point, and I was like, yay, but I don't really, it sounds like it's not. Oh, hey!
Hey, Lily. I know that stretch comes up now and then. There was some discussion how it's going to work in front of the president's house there, and at one point they thought about going behind the house.
Money.
Now they're back to thinking about going in front of the house. But does that kind of summarize it, Lily?
I love Cynthia's comment. It needs money. And there's a little bit of an ongoing conversation. So right now there's going to be an upcoming Florida Avenue traffic safety study. So, and Shannon knows a lot about that. And so that's something that needs to get done first before design considerations. But working out the money and the ownership of the property and the path is going to be some of the tricky hurdles ahead.
Yeah, but it's a high use pedestrian bike space. I mean, when I run, it desperately needs pedestrian and bike facilities. So that would be my other thing is if this traffic circle happened, it would be great if the city of Urbana were able to do something at Carl and Florida to allow safe passage for children and families, just kind of raise awareness there to get across. It's a short street, but cars don't stop. You have good visibility when you're trying to cross it, but I'll wait there sometimes 5 minutes before I can get across it safely. So.
Yeah, there is the signal at Orchard where people can cross. And so families that live in that neighborhood who want to cross with a signal can do that there. But of course, ideally having a crosswalk at Carl would be the best.
But the connectivity, Cynthia, is how do you even get to it then? You'd bike all the way, you'd bike on that skinny little sidewalk and then you cross over and then you can't get back to, you're on the grass to get back to the traffic garden. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
You'd have to ride through Orchard Downs basically or drive.
Yeah, and by that time your kids are like, I'm done. Game over. So anyway.
Just as a quick consideration to another thing that we're kind of considering or feedback we're getting in the comprehensive plan, one thing that is coming up over and over and over again is the rest of the city's lack of sidewalks and connectivity. So as this intersection in this area needs that, and we have a lot of feedback from that over the past 2-3 decades, there's more and more of these issues bubbling up from across the city.
Yep.
But isn't that area university property that we're talking about? Isn't that whole Florida okay, so the university would be in charge of funding it and putting in the sidewalk, and maybe there's COVID relief grant money for that. Hey, I don't know.
It could be a joint ITEP grant or something like that. I think we've considered it for ITEP before or considered considering it. So there's some potential there.
I think we applied in 2016 with the university, but that was an unsuccessful grant. And then this year we applied for Baker's Lane, and that was one consideration was kind of trying to address lower income neighborhoods.
Yeah, well, Orchard Downs is the low income neighborhood. And so they're just a thought that when the city was successful in getting Safe Routes to School infrastructure grants, they did it in conjunction with our grants. So potentially you could say that the city wanted to help partner with the university to put this pathway and the crosswalks in to provide access to the traffic garden, which Safe Routes to School would apply for a non-infrastructure grant to do. So that's just an idea. The infrastructure grants for Safe Routes to School are extraordinarily competitive, and I think there are higher priority projects the city of Urbana should focus on for that, but the university could, I think, apply as well. actually have not looked at your status in terms of being able to apply, but I think that that's a possibility.
But
Okay,
can you
anything?
please send me like information about that? And
When the proposal is sent out, I can send you the link to the website. I guess you can sign up to get emails, but they haven't
Okay.
sent it out yet. It's not official. This is
Okay,
just
cool.
saying, get all your ducks lined up and be ready when it arrives.
Okay, okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for the traffic garden idea and presentation. It's really, I hope it works out. It could be a really advantage for both for our, to maintain or improve our bicycle gold status, and also just to have the kids be more aware and more prepared to start biking on our streets and everything.
Yeah, if the city wanted to partner with the university to do this, they could get some credit for it. Otherwise, I think the university would get primary credit for this project. And so that's another selling point, I guess, that we could include in the proposal, Sartai. I didn't think about that, Emmy and Jonathan, when we were putting this together. And we'll wrap
The
up.
university's not gold, are they? Are they gold yet?
No,
Is that?
No,
Yeah.
we are silver.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that would really help.
This would really, yeah, it would be a huge asset to their families, to the family, and also to attracting families to move here. Just a huge asset.
But
Yeah.
if city, yeah, if bicycle advocate groups use it, does Urbana get some credit for that then? I mean,
oh, we can stick it in somewhere. We stick everything we can in somewhere.
yeah. And if we make a crosswalk to it,
City
we gotta get-
boundaries.
we should get something out of the crosswalk if we can put in a crosswalk to it. Okay, great. Thanks a lot. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was great.
You're welcome to stay and watch if you want, but you are also welcome to leave. And thank you again. And I'll be seeing you around, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Emmy.
Thanks,
That was
Emmy.
amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, next was a discussion of staff support. I know it's come up a couple times, and I think most recently it came up when Cynthia was starting to fill out some stuff for
Vision Zero, to be a Vision Zero
application.
city.
Vision Zero application to be a Vision Zero city, and you know they want contact information for the city representatives. That's the staff support for BPAC, and we really don't have it. I mean, Shannon, there is a position for public works person on the commission that's in the bylaws, but they don't really they aren't really required to provide staff support. Shannon's the only engineer besides the public works director now. So we're down like 3 or 4 engineers. And so I was looking at some of the old minutes, and sometimes there were people from planning that helped support it. Rebecca Bird, I think, Kevin Garcia helped a little bit for a while. But there were also public works people, Jennifer Shelby and then Craig. But it looked like I mean, I've only been chair for four years, so maybe some of you that have been on longer can explain what staff support does and what the advantages is and what we would expect from them. As far as it looked like they provided basically at least a staff report each week, or each month, I mean, to kind of update what happened since the last meeting and kind of keep track of action items. You know, I may have a little bit more time now that I'm not on city council to do some of that, but I think really you need somebody that can dedicate at least, 6 or 8 hours a week to it.
Bill, it's in
about-
the pedestrian plan, it's in the bicycle plan, it's in the wayfinding plan, it's in our bicycle friendly community. Report card is something we need to do. It is something that has been there and been requested. The problem is there's no one person to go to. It's a scattershot approach. Different people are taking different parts of it, and there's no one person who is the contact who does the work for this. The Arts Commission and the Sustainability Commission have, people who are assigned to them, and they have the ability to do social media and Facebook and things like that, which we have not been able to do. And the commission that we are working on here is talking about helping people save lives, keep people from getting hurt, and help us be a healthy community. That should be at least as high a priority as city arts programs and city sustainability. And so I think that we really should be asking for there to be a higher commitment to implementing the work that we have done. I went back through our bicycle master plan, and as I went through our goals and objectives and strategies, I was really disheartened by how little of it we have done, because the number of staff available to do any of this work has dwindled down to the point where the city is now contracting with consultants and firms to do the work. And so we have nobody to carry forward any of this work, and it's simply impossible for volunteers to implement those plans. It's just not something that can be done. I mean, even to get a progress report on where we were with our bicycle friendly community, we turned to a student intern.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's no advocate. I think the bigger issue we have is we don't have a voice at the table. So there is no advocate who is specifically devoted to, or who is a specialist at full-time paid at the city, whose job it is to advocate for people who walk, bike, and take transit, which is the majority of your city all the time. So, everybody in our city walks somewhere. So it's a little distressing to me that the city does not have a full-time person advocating for this. And, like Cynthia said, it's like, if we have just volunteers doing these things, that's fine. But you can have a volunteer fundraise for a sign that's needed. And then the city, because there is not a specific advocate advocating that the city replace that $150 sign if it gets injured or destroyed, that doesn't happen. So you really need the city's backing to say this. We believe that people should walk in our city. We believe people should bike in our city. We believe people should take transit, and we believe they should be able to do it safely. And we are going to continue to build on it. And right now we have nobody whose specific job, full-time job it is to do that. Whereas we do have a person whose full-time job it is to say arts are very important in our city. The environment's very important in our city. And like Cynthia said, it's a scattershot approach. They are asking a limited staff to be in charge of all sorts of things. And we have done some massive infrastructure projects, and we have asked an incredibly limited staff to try to implement that. And it's, I think we're reaching the end of our, the end of whatever this is. This just can't keep going on. It's not sustainable. This is not sustainable for our staff. It's not sustainable for Shannon, and it's not sustainable for the city to keep up at this pace. This isn't going to work, and it's not going to attract new citizens, and the decay is going to happen.
Does anybody remember when, say, Rebecca Bird was involved? Did they have like a percentage time of hers that was supposed to be dedicated to bicycle pedestrian activities?
Yes, there was a percentage of time, and I think Jennifer probably had a percentage of time, because Rebecca and Jennifer both regularly came to the Safe Routes to School Steering Committee meetings, occasionally to Champaign County Bikes Steering Committee meetings, in addition to the BPAC meetings. And Lily has been representing the city for Bike Month and coming to Safe Routes to School meetings when she can. But it has been hard because there's not enough staff to cover those bases. So yes, and Rebecca was very involved and engaged. Jennifer and Rebecca both spent considerable time, and I think it's because the staffing levels were different then, and so they were able to have more time assigned. And I don't remember what percentage of their time was assigned at that time. we could ask them. I can still contact them.
Oh, yeah,
It's
if you
pro-
could.
it is probably in the first application for bike-friendly city status, how much time is dedicated by the city to that.
That's probably right.
We could just pull that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could get that to me. I'm thinking we need to maybe present a formal ask either to the mayor or the council, maybe in the form of a resolution, maybe just in the form of a letter. But if you can get me any background information about, I haven't taken a look at the budget yet. Sometimes the budget will have that in there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't in the budget, if it's just, you know, kind of a 25% of your time supposed to be spent on with BPAC. They might not have actually budgeted, you know, made it a separate line item in the budget. If you could find out a little bit more about how that was done so that I have a little bit more to go on with the ask, then I can work on that. Any other comments on that? We still have Vision Zero. And then we'll probably have several announcements about things. Okay. Thanks for the input. And if you think of anything else, any other justifications or ideas, I mean, I think we all realize staff is just really short across the city in a lot of areas right now. But as far as trying to work towards something over the next year or so, I think it's a good time to at least bring it up.
And Bill, the position would pay for itself over and over again. You know, if someone, there are so many grants out there that having the economic makeup that our city has, having the location our city has, we can get grants. Also the way that all these agencies, you know, I have never lived in a city where it's like, if someone's like, would, you know, would the park district be in, would the health department be in, you know, like we get a lot of buy-in from a lot of different places, but you know, you can't have volunteers. Like Cynthia's like, I need a point person for Vision Zero. Like you can't have volunteers can only do so much. This is a professional situation and we need a professional response. It can't, you know, we need people who can apply to these grants and get them. Like it's, you know, and then we implement them, you know, yeah, I mean, again, the position would just pay for itself over and over again. So that would just be my other.
Even a student intern working 15 hours a week would be a great assistance to moving forward, at least in working on some of the events, because we're going to have Bike to Work Day in September along with Light the Night, and having an intern who could take on some of those tasks would really be a big help to staff.
Okay, thanks. Next on the agenda, I think was Vision Zero, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Audrey and I have an update, and I threw some slides together for us to do slideshow. Come on, computer. Here we go. Just to tell you where we are. And can you all see?
Yep.
All right. So just by way of reminder, you know, our strategies are building and sustaining leadership, collaboration, and accountability, collecting, analyzing, and using the data, prioritizing equity and community engagement, managing speed to safe levels, setting a timeline to achieve 0 deaths and serious injuries, which we have been working on. And Audrey sent you all an email today. I hope you had time to take a look at the great article sent you about Hoboken that has similar size to us, that has implemented a Vision Zero program and achieved 0 fatalities the last few years. So our action plan schedule is a moving target, and here's where we are now. We're still working on the task force kickoff, and we're working on our communication strategy. And I haven't had interns working this last spring semester. I'm going to share a little bit of what we accomplished, and Audrey can hop in here. And we have an intern from Eastern Illinois University working under Dr. Hillier again this summer. So here's what we are working on now. We talked with you last time a little bit about the website and the survey. And wiki maps is another thing that we discussed, and putting together our press kit and having a mayoral proclamation event and announcing our Vision Zero task force. Those are the next steps for us. And so this was the website we talked about using last time, our People for Safe Streets website. And these were our goals, to get agency and public support, to help everyone understand the true costs, and developing streets for convenience of cars rather than the safety of people, and then to help people understand the benefits of living, working, and traveling in a Vision Zero city. These are the things we wanted to communicate and help people understand what we're talking about, and the costs and benefits. So we talked also last time about this. We had a draft proclamation, and we'll have to change this, of course. I don't know whether or not we'll be able to do it during Bike Month, but we have a draft we can update. Oh, I forgot to take off there that we're not doing it May 1st. Sorry. Obviously, that changed. But what I wanted to show you, and I sent you all a link to the draft survey. I would like for you to look at it and give us any additional input. So we do have that up there, and it's ready to roll. We used a lot of the same questions the university did, so we have some comparability between the two data sets. And the other thing I wanted to let you know is that I got permission from the Illinois Department of Transportation. If you saw my email, you saw this, to use some of our funding to pay for us to use Wikimaps. So I can pay for a year of use of this, and we can use it for getting input. We can add it to this survey to get people to give us input. I plan to also use it with Safe Routes to School. We've always used paper copies, which we'll still do, but I think having the online version will be really helpful. I think we're going to get more specific information from people, because they have to remember to fill the paper out and turn it in. On this, all they have to do is get there, and then they can fill it out. And so this is the one Audrey found that Hoboken has, and I think it's a great model. You can go and put a point in where you have an issue with walking or biking or driving or scooters or transit, and then describe, what the problem, or you can, give kudos for things that are working well also. And I had one meeting with the guy that runs the site, and I just need to get back over to MTD, because the way the Safe Routes to School grant works is it's reimbursable. So MTD has to pay for all of these things up front, and I have to use their credit card, and then I can get that set up. And then the intern and I are going to work on this, and Audrey, and we were going to pull in some other people. I don't know if Bill wants to jump in here and help with this, just putting together the wiki maps. And we've also got some staff at MTD who work with mapping all the time, because they work on creating the routes for buses. So they use a lot of GIS there too. So we have people that we can pull on, and I think we can accomplish this in a few weeks. The other thing I wanted to ask you all about tonight is they have a pledge on the Hoboken site. And I wanted to reach out to the mayor's office and see if we would like to do a pledge. And of course, we change, we would make our own, but there's no reason why we can't, use theirs as a good example. But I think it's a fun thing to do. And then we have signatures of people who are interested. They can give us their contact information. And so that would be really nice to have that database of people who are interested in this issue. Then our task force, and we had interns do some more work on this and gather some more organizations and contacts for us to reach out to. We just have not had time to do that yet. Bike Month eats up a bit of our time, and so we need to get that more confirmed, get the letters sent out, and get people on board so that we can set that up. And also, Audrey's looking for feedback from all of you on the meeting agendas and topics and things that are being proposed. There's our list of the task force members. So here are the next steps. I'd like for you all to approve our, using the website, putting the survey on there with the wiki map, perhaps doing the pledge, moving forward as soon as we get that together with the proclamation and the press release, if possible. And also thoughts about how long to have the survey open. And then we'll get started with our outreach to the key stakeholders and push out the survey and get the dates for our task force meetings set up. I think we need to nail that down as well. So that's what we're looking for. And I think that's all I really have to say. Audrey, do you want to hop in here and say anything?
Well, I think the pledge is an excellent way to get, personal interaction, as is the survey, of course. Having people interacting and actively doing something is going to get them thinking in a much bigger way. I mean, they won't probably wouldn't even remember it if it's just something they heard, that if they heard the mayor made a proclamation or something, as compared to actively interacting with these things. So in the case of Hoboken, they waited until they had the survey ready so that was part of the proclamation, the mayoral proclamation. So the survey was ready to get people actively engaged immediately. And I think that's the direction you're thinking about going as well.
Yes.
And then we want to have the agendas and presentations for the first few meetings ready before we have the first task force meeting, although and even included in the invitation to the task force members so they know what they're getting into.
Yeah, and that's going to take some interaction with the mayor's office. So, and Bill, how would you like to handle that part of it? And do we need to have BPAC vote to approve doing the survey with the wiki maps? Is that something you feel like we need a vote on? What do you think is our best approach in terms of procedure?
I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at the survey. I guess we could vote on the idea of doing a survey and wiki map.
Is there any legal issue related to the surveys? I know Annie and her group, Nancy, did a great survey. And you didn't run into any kind of approval issue or anything.
I just, I mean, when the U of I did theirs, Sartak, maybe did they have to go through the IRBs? Sometimes with surveys, when you're asked, because it's human, I guess if you're not using it for research. So the question.
Yeah, they actually had to, because since Dr. Benica Hall's group, they were going to send out the survey to such a large group of students, they had to get permission from, I think, IRB, or there was a group on campus, I can't remember which.
But that's a U of I thing.
Yes, they had to get like their names, email addresses, and then they would send out like a.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be a problem. I mean, Lily, you've been working with the survey for the comprehensive plan. Do you see any problems with the BPAC supporting a survey to do for Vision Zero?
Not off the top of my head, but I can look into it. I'm not quite sure, but I can ask.
Okay, because with the comp plan, you do have somebody register, you have people register, so the responses are theoretically identifiable, right?
Yeah.
So.
But we didn't do that, Bill, with the pedestrian plan or the wayfinding plan or the bike plan.
Yeah, I don't think it would probably be a problem. I think it just gets to be a problem if you're going to use it for research.
And we actually did a survey also just about BPAC about 5 years ago. We did a survey just asking the public what their perception was of BPAC. Do you remember that? Yeah. I think Kevin Garcia might have handled that.
just as a quick clarification about the Imagine Urbana survey, most folks haven't used identifiable usernames or emails, which is,
Oh, okay.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it'd be reasonable for somebody to make a motion that we support the Vision Zero work group pursuing the survey and wiki maps. Is that?
Yeah, and the other question I guess I had too was, can we ask people to give us feedback by email so that we can get this survey up and going before our next meeting in June?
Okay, so you want BPAC to provide feedback on the survey, right?
Yeah, to give us feedback, but to authorize us to receive and update the survey based on that and go ahead and put it out so that we don't have to go through a process of getting another approval.
I think that sounds reasonable. Can you send us a link to a final version before you send it out? So if anybody has any strong objections, they can register it with you individually.
Sure. The only thing at this point we're planning on changing is adding in the wiki map, which when we get it set up. So the questions, unless you all have changes, those are the questions we're planning on using. But if they're, and we also have to not make it too long. That's another issue, is if we make it too long, people will just quit. But take a look at it. I sent you all a link today, and let us know if there's something important we're missing or something we screwed up. And I will try and get the wiki map put in there within the next couple of weeks. It could happen in 2 days. It could happen in 2 weeks. I haven't worked on it. I think it's probably not too hard, but and I really like those little icons with a person and a bike and a car and a bus. And I don't know about you guys, but I like that much better than colored dots. Some of them had Vision Zero things, had little colored dots. And I thought, I don't know what all those colors mean. I forget.
They had the Hoboken Vision Zero action plan, the draft action plan shows their results that they got from that survey. And they represented a lot of it with heat maps. And I suppose that that's all stuff that comes out of the wiki maps application.
Yes, because I've worked with those before when I did the a couple of different plans, like the bike plan for Iowa City. And yeah, you can make various kinds of maps.
So we might want to just check also against those questions. I forget if I looked at the draft survey. I like the questions. They seem pretty comprehensive, but I just want to look at that Hoboken example as well, because they do summarize how they use the results in their action plan. So that'll be a good example for us.
I just had one or two comments. One was when I go on a walk, I have both sidewalks and no sidewalks. And it was kind of a yes, no question for do you have them or don't you? And then now I get the wiki map, because my other comment was going to be there wasn't a place to write the intersection or the street, but instead that'll be you.
Yeah, you put it in
you
the
use
notes.
Okay. Oh, there wasn't place for that?
Yeah, whenever you put a little point, a locator on the map, you have an opportunity to put in information about that. And so you can tell exactly where and exactly what the problem is.
Yeah, okay, I get that now. I guess I didn't see, because there wasn't a map there. That was the one thing I didn't see, and now I get the map. And so it's just that one walking is my only comment then.
Yeah, I'll take a look at how we've got that question, how we could reword that question to say, I have sidewalk part of the way, or I'll take a look at it. Good point. That's probably true for a lot of us.
Well, I think we're going to want to push this out through press releases to all the media. Some of you may have seen the News Gazette's been pretty proactive recently in publishing bicycle-related, pedestrian-related activities. So
Yeah, I emailed and yelled at them about the way they were reporting on pedestrian crashes.
Okay.
And then
let's
Bill
finish
sent
up-
a letter to
let's
the
finish up this
editor.
topic. Is there a
I
motion to
have
ask
one
the-
more comment actually.
okay.
Yes, sir, Todd.
Yeah, so the first question actually, you say like which of the following you experienced. It is you can choose multiple things in that question. I think it would be better if it was a single choice and people who have multiple issues to report on, they can uh, fill out the form multiple times because let's say I saw a crash happen at First and Green, and I personally was involved in a collision at Pennsylvania and Dorner. Then there may be some issue over there, like how to report that in this.
I think what I would rather do, because I hated that about your survey, by the way. I didn't want to fill it out multiple times. So
Yeah.
I think maybe what we should do is on that question after it's where did the collision or near miss occur, is maybe say if, and then add if there was more than one collision,
Yeah.
somehow make it so that they can add to that so that they can report on more than one instance, because you're right, we asked them and they may want to report on multiple ones and it might be confusing.
Yeah, I would just add like another answer field, like three answer field, like answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, or collision 1, or incident 1, incident 2, incident 3.
Yeah, I could say if there was more than one incident, please describe below. And yeah, I'll try and figure that out.
And I've also sent you the survey that the university did. I don't remember if I had sent it before.
I think that we had it, but thanks. I'll make sure the new intern has it, because he already looked through our website and pointed out a goof on the website to me. So he's very sharp and motivated.
I was gonna say, I just looked at the pledge online. It's really nice. How would you be integrating that into the communications plan? When would that be released, or how do you see that working?
We would put it on the website like they have it, and have it be part of the Vision Zero experience when people go in. We'll have to figure out how we get them to fill out the survey and the pledge, because I don't want people to do only one. And so we'll have to figure that out. And we can push both of those out through social media as separate activities. Yeah. And of course, we can keep doing the pledge. And that was the other question for you all, in addition to, approving our doing this, is how long should we have the survey open? My feeling is that we probably need to keep that survey open up to September, because otherwise we're not going to get students and faculty. I know travel's been reduced, but now that a lot of the mandates have been lifted, people are going to be traveling more this summer.
I think that that's probably a good idea, again, because a big benefit of the survey is interacting, and if even though it'd be nice to get the data, probably the benefit of having more people interact with it kind of outweighs that.
Well, and you're able to say, like, you're able to collect data as it goes. Like, it's not, you can be like,
we can look at
initial data.
Right.
Now the data changed a little because this, this happened. Now the data changed a little because of that.
Right.
But yeah, you'll basically find spikes when it was promoted through different, venues and places. So.
Okay, would it be better to just have a motion to approve the draft schedule for Vision Zero plan, or do you want?
Bill, I'll make a motion that the Vision Zero subcommittee working group continues with the plan for implementing the wiki maps and survey as discussed.
For implementing the maps and survey as discussed. Okay.
Yeah, and the discussion was that the survey would be refined and then the final link would send out for final comments.
Sounds reasonable. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Seconded, moved by Jeff and seconded by Annie. Shelby, can we hear you now? Can you call roll?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep, we can.
Oh, goodness.
Sorry,
Okay.
I think I was in charge and I was supposed to promote you at some point. I mean, the first time you kind of got on and we couldn't hear you, and then I promoted you the second time. So anyway,
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but all right. Bill Brown,
yes.
Cynthia Hoyle,
Yes.
Sarthak Prasad,
Yes.
Shannon Brannock,
Yes.
Nancy Westcott,
Yes.
Kira Dudek,
Yes.
Amy Adams,
Yes.
Audrey Ishii,
Yes.
Jeff Marino.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Thanks. Was that it then for Vision Zero?
That's all I have to say.
Okay, I can briefly, I don't know if anybody saw my letter to the editor in the newspaper Sunday. It was about the pedestrian crash that was at Vine and Elm.
It was good. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great one.
It was
Basically,
published
it
on
just-
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
Which is the biggest circulation day.
Pointed out that in the police media report and in the newspaper that picked up from the media report, they referred to the pedestrian as being the at-fault party pretty much immediately without really going into detail why they were at fault. They didn't say, they suddenly stepped off in front of a car, they ran in front of a car. They just said they weren't in a crosswalk and they were at fault. So I contacted Lieutenant Coker, and he was gracious enough to invite me to watch some video of the body cam videos and let me see the report and stuff. And there were several things that happened as usual in most crashes. More than one thing goes wrong, and that's why you have a crash. There were several things that could have been done differently. So I wrote a letter basically that pointed that out, as far as somebody turning and blocking the crosswalk so they couldn't actually stay in the crosswalk even if they wanted to. And then the car on the other side passed the stop car while they were stopped in the crosswalk, which also really is illegal, because you aren't supposed to, if they had stopped, a foot before the crosswalk, it definitely would have been illegal, because then they would have been stopped at a crosswalk. But I don't know what the legality is when they pass somebody who stopped on the crosswalk, but it would still be illegal to pass a stopped car that's waiting for a pedestrian to cross. And so there were some visibility issues, but a lot of human error in that. So I pointed out the different things. So that's kind of a little Vision Zero add-on that I'll make. And I think I will follow up with the police and just ask that they treat, and I made this point with Lieutenant Coker, that they treat pedestrians as they would a driver. And I actually searched hundreds of these media reports. I don't know if you've read the Urbana media reports that come out. They usually have just one PDF file that's usually a couple pages twice a day that describes the different police interactions, and might have, half a dozen or a dozen interactions, especially if there was an arrest or something. But I had some, saved in my phone and on my computer in the download section and stuff. So I put them all together and searched them. And this was the only place where they mentioned fault in hundreds of these media reports. So I think there's some education there to be done, as far as usually you can just describe what happened in an accident. You don't have to, in the media report, you don't have to identify who's at fault. Maybe on the police report, you can suggest it, but eventually it has to be worked out by the insurance companies and the courts if it's contested. So it's really not up to the officer. They can, they should, I guess they do present it in their crash reports, but I think they just need to be more conscious of the pedestrian perspective on some of these things. So I will follow up a little bit more on that. So I think we're at announcements now.
I have an announcement. My husband, not me, so I don't get to fill it out, got a survey today from University of Illinois in the Urban and Regional Planning. And it is about how it's an 8-page survey, and it's how your transportation needs work, and if they're going to be changing, you know, how they were during pandemic, how they're going to change after pandemic. And he'll get $5 for filling it out. And this is an official survey, Cynthia. So, you know, it has all the standard protocol, which is, you know, they talk about we're not taking biometric information, but, you know, anyway, it's a voluntary research study. So I just thought that was really interesting. So kudos to whoever is pulling this off. It's really nice to see. So I just thought that was kind of cool. So we should keep our eyes out for, oh, it's about downstate too. It's very specific. You've been selected to participate in a survey about household travel in downstate Illinois. Research project conducted by the University of Illinois with the Illinois Department of Transportation. The goal is to help regional transportation agencies create policies and strategies that improve transportation networks in the communities they serve. So there's a couple.
Yeah, they've had an online survey, but they were, and I've been getting a lot on Facebook. It was about people who were not using transit anymore. So that one sounds a little more comprehensive.
Yeah, he has a survey ID. There's a URL to be filled out. One adult household member, 18 and above. So if you're 18 and under, we don't care how you get around. Doesn't matter.
That's a whole nother level of permission, Annie, that they have.
No, I'm just teasing. I'm being snarky. I'm being snarky. Yeah, so yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. That's all.
And I think Charlie already mentioned Rite of Silence tomorrow night, starting at iHotel at 7 or shortly thereafter.
There's a bike ride next Saturday, and Lily is involved with that too. It's the Southern Green Loop. We'll be meeting at the parking lot on Race Street at Meadowbrook Park and taking a little tour of 3 different parks, mostly off-road, by the way. It's a very short stretch that we have to ride our bikes on McHenry to get to Larson Park, and then a short stretch back. So I don't know if any of you can join us, but we would love to have you.
It's this Saturday, right? And it's at 2:00, I believe. Yep, the Urbana Park Southern Loop, Southern Green Loop ride.
Meadowbrook.
We'll meet, parking lot at Meadowbrook. Yep, the Meadowbrook Park parking lot. The loop is 6 miles. All bikes and abilities are welcome. It's a leisurely ride. Helmets are mandatory.
We had to cancel our Mother's Day ride. It was blowing 25 miles an hour and raining off and on. And it didn't seem like it would be any fun. So I canceled.
Is that the Race Street parking lot or Windsor Road parking lot?
Race Street.
Okay.
Yes. And the one other event that just got confirmed is June 11th. We will have a youth instructor certification workshop. And we're doing it at the Stevens YMCA. They're partnering with us on that. And we will be incorporating cycling games into that. But our Danish instructor, there are 2 problems. The US still isn't allowing members of the EU to fly in here, and she cracked her ribs. So even, you know, forces just conspired against us. I felt like Rosanna Dana, for those of you who are old enough to remember. If it's not one thing, it's something else. And so that's what we're going to be doing, and we're going to reallocate the funding that we were going to use to bring her here. It won't be as much fun, and I'm disappointed, but we will be offering the training. And that will be fun, and any of you are welcome. It's free because it's being sponsored through our Safe Routes to School grant. and it'll be a lot of fun. So there's registration set up. I don't think I've done a Facebook event yet, but I will be pushing more social media out for that. It's on the website and on the calendar. I believe it's already on. Yeah, Gabe, I think put it on our Bike Month calendar as well.
When do we
I have a
expect
couple
to
of
hear
announcements.
about the ITEP grants?
They haven't come out with anything yet. We're expecting it, I think, about any time.
I'll mention that Nancy and I walked Baker's Lane last winter, and it seemed, it was really interesting and seemed like a pleasant walk. So I tried to bike it.
It's kind of bumpy. I biked it on my gravel bike, but it's
You were able to do it. I thought,
yeah.
whoa,
You feel like you're riding through
this is
somebody's
not what I-
backyards.
I hope we get that.
Yeah. Okay. Future.
Yeah, I have a couple of announcements too. Okay.
Okay.
So first of all, the IC TED Talk Eco Edition series for bicycles, that's going to happen on May 26th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I think I had sent out a notification last week or something like that, maybe.
On the TED Talk?
Yes, about the TED Talk. It's basically going to be a discussion group. We'll watch a TED Talk and then have a discussion as to how we can relate and improve our bike infrastructure, or not just infrastructure, the culture. So yeah, if you guys are free, it would be great to have you guys join the discussion. And yeah, so second announcement, I can say, as Cynthia mentioned earlier, that we are doing Bike from Work Day, and we are combining it with Light the Night sometime in September. Most likely it will be on September 15th or 16th, with a rain date of a week following that. And so as you all know, Campus Bike Center recently moved to a new location, and they're planning to do a grand reopening also in September. And it is possible that they'll do the grand reopening on the same day as Bike from Work Day and Light the Night. So that will probably make it like a bicycle day or something like that, where there will be some events related to bicycles throughout the day and then in the evening as well.
Good.
On the walking side, I'm trying, so one of my objective is to conduct a walkability audit in the next fiscal year for the campus. I'm still planning how to do it. I'm working with a couple of urban planning professors and seeing like if we can do a classroom project or a student project, a capstone project, or something like that, and include or involve a larger campus community into it. But again, like I'm still planning to do, planning on how to do it. It's just, it's one of my goals to actually conduct it in the next year. So you guys will be hearing from me about that in the near future, in the coming few months. And I think that's about it for me just now. But if I remember anything else later, I'll send out an update by email or something.
Great, thanks. Yeah, Karen.
Could I mention a few things too?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a combined announcement / future topic. And there's a lot going on in Crystal Lake Park and a lot of things that will be transportation oriented soon too. And so we're hoping in early fall to do kind of like a culmination of these are all the projects that are happening, close the park road so people can enjoy it, invite community groups in whatever way we can at that time. And so I'll want to come back to you all for some suggestions and ways in which you may want to partner. But even before then, I was thinking that you all may appreciate just like seeing if on one Saturday a month or something, you could close the road to start together. Some enthusiasm for eventual one-way road transition.
That'd be cool.
And so I'll have more information later as we talk about it more. And I also just briefly wanted to offer like a little bit of support to Shannon, because I feel like we all have the end goal of a better community in sight, but sometimes like on a purely human level, it's a little bit hard on her. Just you can only get swept aside so many times before, you know, you're not really as enthusiastic about your work any longer. And so I hope that like we can continue to move as a group positively forward. And I just know what my personality is very introverted, and I would have been put down, you know, today just with how hard the conversation was. So I wanted to share those sentiments too. I don't talk very much, but I am here and I listen a lot and I pay attention, I promise.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope we weren't being too hostile. We do tend to get hostile now and then, but I think we all try to understand each other at the end.
I honestly didn't mean it as a comment on Shannon not doing her job or Shannon putting Shannon down. I honestly thought it was my understanding that if people have somehow volunteered and fundraised and come up with signs, that the city wouldn't be so aggressive in not wanting to continue the signs. So I was just, and I assume Shannon doesn't make that decision. Shannon's not the one who's writing the rules about like, no. So I didn't realize like Shannon considered us going over her head. To me, it was more us supporting Shannon and saying, we understand, Shannon, there's only so much that you can ask from the city, but we are a separate entity and we can ask the city other questions. So that was how I was approaching it. I wasn't approaching it as Shannon's not doing her job and we're just gonna end run around her. So that was, I just wanna say that's kind of how I saw it, and I didn't realize that she was taking, that she did not understand. To me, it was, I thought we were supporting her, but obviously that's not how it was heard, so.
Well, as I've stated before, I think having staff be members of these commissions puts them in a very awkward and uncomfortable position. It makes it really difficult because we were appointed to advise the city council and the mayor on how to be more bicycle and pedestrian friendly. And sometimes there are people in staff and obviously people who are higher up than Shannon who have disagreements with the advice that we are offering, but we were not appointed to report to them. We were appointed to advise the mayor and the city council. And it does put staff in a really awkward position. And I brought that up when Craig was there. And I know some of the other commissions have staff on them too, but it just seems like a really awkward arrangement because it's in no way attacking staff, but we're going to do our job of advising the city, and it's not going over staff. It is doing the job that we were appointed to do. So it's a really uncomfortable spot to be in, and I'm sorry that Shannon is in that spot.
So on future topics, I think the bike registration came up. I thought that U of I was going to be kind of taking over the registration, but it sounds like maybe city staff hasn't decided yet. So maybe we could have that as a future topic too. Does that sound like we need to do that, Sarthak?
I'm not sure because when we had gone through the bike registration process, City of Urbana was present in the decision making for the whole thing. And I mean, as I said, we were under the impression that it was done for the community because we brought the system for the community.
Yeah, and I asked about the website a year or more ago. I think I asked Kevin and Lily about updating our website to do something with bike registration. Because somebody asked, one of the people in my ward asked, how they were supposed to register their bike. And I don't think the website was very clear on that. Do you have any updates, Lily, or is that something we should put on future topics?
I would recommend maybe future topics just at a later date. Right now, we've just got a lot going on. Right now, the city building's still closed. And so I think as we start to reopen, we'll be able to navigate that. We'll be able to navigate how parking plays in with that and the current registration process. But yeah, I think there was an earlier, brief over email misunderstanding. And I think before the pandemic, there was a talk about a fee. I think that was kind of difficult for Champaign and Urbana to navigate. And we just kind of left it there because of the pandemic. So glad that that's great. That's cleared up. And I think we just need a little bit more time to make sure that we have enough visibility on the website and get parking on board and what's going on.
Okay.
And just on
we just get an update.
Specifically, actually, I was just going to say, just on the point of additional fee, there was an additional fee for fiscal year 21 when we had brought in the system, but and I had maybe I didn't send it by email, or maybe I did, I don't remember, but I had mentioned to the cities that the university will be covering for City of Urbana and Champaign if they cannot contribute. I was told that they could not in FY21. So we covered that cost. At that point, I was told that. And for the fiscal year 22 going forward, from now on, there is no additional community edition fee for the program. So the only cost for the city will be to purchase the shields, especially and as we said in the email that the city is, they can give out the shields free of cost to the residents, but they'll have to purchase the shields from us.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Any other future topics? We're kind of running over our time now.
Oh, well, mine says I have 2 minutes left, but I just wanted to say, hooray, hooray, Kara, we would love to help with an open streets event at Park District. I think that would be great.
Awesome, thank you.
So I would just, I want to go back to what Sarthak was saying. It'd be great if we did, if there was a present, or if we represented, I think, what the bike, maybe if Sarthak represented what was, where it was, as Lily was saying, left off, maybe we, okay, so you're aware of that, Bill. I do think it's a good topic. I just wouldn't mind presenting on the Big Blue Bike Rack. I just I did some history on it. I figured out where it was last and the date, dates and times and places. And I find it strange that it's just disappeared. And I also find it strange that I've never been able to get a count of bike racks. So I just would like to do a little presentation on bike racks. Just basically
there is a count of bike racks, and I sent you a link to it.
Cynthia, those are the installed bike racks. What I'm looking for.
Oh, you mean the uninstalled one? That's right. That's right.
Yes. Yes. Which is where the Big Blue Bike Rack is, which I don't know where it is. And I don't know if no one knows where it is. So that is a piece of city property. So it's not, volunteers didn't put it together. But anyway, I would just like to present on it. That would be my.
Okay.
That's all.
Any other future topics?
Like a weird thing, but.
Audrey, were you going to say something? Oh, okay. All right. I think that's it then. Seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.